Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conscious Health Podcast. And today we have my co-host, David Ortega, and a very, very special guest today. Her name is Julie Schindler. And I'm just going to do a quick bio, and then I'm going to dive into your story, and I want to hear more about your story, Julie. So Julie Schindler is an intuitive Akashic Reiki master, which made me very excited and happy to speak to her, and creator of Forgiveness Frequency, Healing in Color, a multidimensional system that helps people transform trauma into treasure using color wisdom, energy healing, and Akashic Records guidance. She's also the founder of Speak Up in Color, a charitable initiative building a school of color for children in the, I don't know how to say this.
Zambia.
Yeah, it's in Zambia. What is the name of the orphanage?
Oh, it's called the Salicho Orphanage.
Salicho Orphanage, yeah, where she teaches them how to color and express their emotions through art and healing. That's so beautiful. So living with a life-altering spinal injury, Julie shares her message and her healing work with people around the world, helping them rise beyond pain and rediscover their true light by healing in color. So today, joined by Julie, she's a visionary and a creator of this Forgiveness Frequency and Healing in Color, the multidimensional system. And today, I'd love to know more about your journey and how you've gotten to where you are now and all the beautiful things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just really excited to be here. So hello, everybody. My journey of forgiveness started in about 2020. I had spent a few years on palliative care and life-ending care. And it was in those moments of trying to save pain for my family, I started to write my eulogy. The doctor said that we were at the end of all medical possibilities, that we needed to start planning for the worst. And so in this eulogy that I was writing to save pain, I received this bright blue pop of color, and it just came through and it just completely covered my vision. And within that was a message that you're not going anywhere. There's more for you. And to share this eulogy, don't wait, share it now. And as I looked down at it, it was all gratitude. And it was this message that gratitude elevates your truth. And I needed to put it out there. So I made it into kind of a gratitude message and to thank all of my friends and family and everyone who had been on this journey with me. 13 years ago, while I was working, a box fell on my head and crushed my cervical spine. And it was after reconstructive surgery and almost a year of physical therapy to gain the use of my hands and my upper body, my throat, my voice back. We realized that we were left with small holes and tears in my spinal column that were inoperable, that I could only stand for 2 to 4 hours a day, that my spinal cord drains out every single day, and that we were left with just all of these things that we needed to embrace. And it took me 8 years of darkness to really find pops of color through these pops of color and this light to show me that forgiveness is about facing your fears. And it's about no one else but you. It is a frequency of self-love, self-forgiveness, and gratitude. And when I tapped into each of those, have a frequency, and it just started to build. Every time I would receive a pop of color, I was brought back into the center of this infinity loop. And that's what the forgiveness frequency truly was. And so as these colors started to come through, I would follow them. And one color led me to self-love, or really truly learning how to forgive myself for everything that I've carried in my own trash can of traumas and insecurities, and taught me how to using color, because color holds a frequency and vibration. It taught me how to upcycle and heal using color. And then all of these beautiful different modalities and gifts started to come through of different ways that I could heal myself and not have to. I was on the highest levels of opiates and pain meds, we were able to transition ourselves off of those using color and coloring chronic pain. And then we did that with all of our forever meds. One by one, we were able to use Reiki and energy work and breath work and grounding, all to bring them all into kind of these like jam sessions, which was all about mirror work and meditation and journaling and affirmations. We were just gifted all these different colors to put our rainbow on repeat. And that's what we ended up doing. And when we were losing our ability to chew and swallow, this is where the fear really took over, and forgiveness was truly birthed. We learned 80% of my meals have to come through a straw. And so we learned through these pops of color all these beautiful recipes of how to get all this nutrients in through a straw and make it colorful and yummy and flavorful. And that's really been this journey that we've been able to do. And that's led us to doing a lot more different things with our pillow.
That's such an amazing breakthrough. And all of these frequencies that you receive with this, well, let's say, tragedy that happened to you, and how did you tap into this invisible, let's say, because it is not, when we are going to talk more, but this invisible realm of these frequencies. And the first question that came to my mind was, what was as well as the color that you visualize, what was the experience in terms of the feelings that you receive from that frequency?
Yeah, first it came to me as the infinity loop, and it showed me that when you sit in the middle of this infinity loop, the infinity loop was my soul blueprint. And what it did was it showed me that I had all these holes and tears around the outside of my soul blueprint that my life force energy was leaking out, whether that was trauma that was that hasn't been upcycled, whether that was limiting belief systems or ancestral healing or gestational trauma. Everything that was in my trash can of traumas and insecurities was in this blueprint, but I had all these holes and tears that if I did the work on one thing of forgiveness, then I would be losing that energy somewhere. So the first thing it took me to was to sit in the center. And as you activate your forgiveness frequency, which is available to all of us, we just have to tap into it. When you activate your forgiveness frequency, we started with the color gold. And it was like this, the Christed light. It was kind of this gold white light. And what it did was it allowed me to sit in that center and then flow this color out of my heart, and it filled this infinity loop, and it sealed it. It sealed it from all of those holes and tears. So it gave me a place to start with. So I was no longer leaking out my life force energy and without my knowledge. And when you sealed that, then everything that's in it is yours. And it's your responsibility to take accountability for it and find ways to heal in whatever form. And so once we sealed it up, it was just like the weight of the world was lifted from my shoulders, and I could deal with what I knew was mine. And I believe that we all have a trash can of traumas and insecurities. And this is everything that's happened in our lives that we didn't know how to deal with, or we were not strong enough to heal it, or it wasn't ours. It was someone else's that placed it in there. And this journey, once we created the forgiveness frequency was created, we dumped out those trash cans. And so we laid out everything that's ever happened to us, from our youth to now. And we were able to see it and bring it into the light to see if it still holds the same amount of weight that it did when we were younger. And a lot of the times, this is where, when you're in the center of your forgiveness frequency and you're sitting within it, and you have this God source energy that's coming through you, you are stronger now. You're strong enough to deal with it. And some of those things don't hold the same amount of pain as they did before. So when you brought it into the light and you got to see it in all its color, this is where these jam sessions started happening. Every time I gave myself self-love first, I increased that frequency. That infinity loop raised, the vibration raised within it. Every time I found one of those traumas and I loved on it and I upcycled it and I found gratitude in that learning and that message and that trauma, the frequency increased even more. So then every time we just sat there in gratitude, it increased. And every time we added a color, whether that was going through the chakra colors or just a pop of color that we received, that vibration and color had its own vibration frequency that increased it. So it was just little by little, day by day, we would sit in that center, bring whatever we needed to bring in, and it just started to develop and create this frequency of healing that I never knew existed. And that brought it in through the Akashic records. It's a field within there. It's also the celestial field is in there. The God frequency is in there. So we've spent the last 6 years or so throwing and building this frequency so others can really tap into it. And now we go into it and we bring any trigger that we might have, any pop of color that we received, anything that is a trash can truth that's ready to be revealed. We just sit in that center and allow all of these frequencies and colors and energy to help us through that healing process. I hope that helped explain it.
Yeah, what a beautiful journey you've been on, and thank you so much for sharing with us so candidly as well, which is beautiful to understand. And it's there's so much to unpack there, and the gratitude aspect of it is so incredible, and forgiveness, and they work hand in hand, I find as well, because sometimes when we don't understand why we went through what we went through, it's hard to forgive, and it's hard to be grateful for. But then it's like you say, how does this work for me? And especially if you've been through something so physically, restricting and painful. And I love that your exit point there, you're like, nope, not today. That's not happening. So I'm very much into all the Akashic aspect, but we'll unfold that now. But I would love to know, how did your doctors and your specialists respond to the healing through more of the alternative methods, as well, introducing the alternative methods, because I'm sure you used both medicines. So yeah, that would be interesting to see what their reactions were, or their confusion, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, for the first 8 years, because in the United States it was done on the job. The injury was on the job. So for the first 8 years, it was through their medical choices. So I had to see the specialist that they wanted me to see. I couldn't do any outside influences. I couldn't use energy work. I couldn't do anything that was outside the realm of their umbrella. So right as the world was shutting down in 2020, the case was closed, and we were then transitioning our care over to our team of doctors. And so I met with all of the specialists that I would be then transitioning over to, and it was very difficult because it was in March of 2020, and it was right when they didn't know what was going on. They didn't, everything moved to no in-house visits. Everything was telehealth. So it was very difficult to do it took us about 3 to 6 months to get just on schedule for the MRIs and all of the updated scans. So during that time, we really didn't have a choice. We were given our last kind of set of palliative care of our pain meds, but they didn't know, because there was no program for in-home care at the time to help with that. So they didn't know what we would do. And I had this pop of color and this voice that just kept saying, this time will be different, and to lean into that. And so we started transitioning ourselves off of opiates and morphine over about a 3-month period because we didn't have a way to get it like we did before. And it was in those moments of transition that we were able to lean into barefoot grounding. We found breathwork came through in a pop of color. We just kind of followed the intuitive guidance of what to drink through a straw. Chia seeds and water were like we ate that for 3 months. Just we knew we had to fill in the nutrients from the inside out. So every doctor, they were not on board. They were more challenging. That's not possible. We were at the end of all medical possibilities. So what is possible and what's not? So at this point, it was just like, okay, do it. And it was a do or die trying to get off of palliative care. There was no succession plan for us off of it. But we were gifted this cocoon of 2020 that you get to try new things and you have the ability to meet with people that you never had access to before because they would do it online. And so my world opened up. Deliveries to my home were much easier than they were before. And living horizontally, I had access to all of this that I didn't have access to before. So that was pretty cool. So each doctor has seen me since, and just the light and difference in my health. I had a heart attack in 2018 and I was only 42 at the time. So that was major, but it was all based on pain when we came down to all the results. So the cardiologists loved what we were doing to color pain, and it was showing in all of our results. So it was just kind of a transition period from one to another that we were able to do it differently. And it was just how the world happened to open those doors for us.
Wow. Well, there is so much also there to unpack from the let's say close-minded systems that we have, and that they sadly can't understand that there is a possibility to heal without these medications, these drugs. And as you mentioned, just when they don't have anything else to give you, that's when they release the power to you again. And that's when you, let's say, in divine timing, find this guidance that opens up. And we will get deeper into that, but we are more light than any other thing in our bodies. We are this energy, and these frequencies and these energies and these vibrations that you are mentioning, they are not understood yet, and we are really, I think, far away from understanding what is happening. Probably with these quantum advancements that we are having, we will find out that these electrons and these frequencies and this superposition of these colors also, because they are made from these frequencies, can, let's say, raise the level of energy until you arrive to a level that you recover and repair every tissue and every part of your body. And I think that's what happened, slowly but frequently. And I can bet that you heal a lot more since 2020 than the other previous 8 years.
Agreed. I do have to say my family was not supportive. They had seen me go to the darkest parts of the depths of planning for our death, and I'd said my goodbyes to my children, and they thought I was going crazy, and they thought I was close to the other side. That's why I was receiving these pops of colors and these messages from a higher source. So they stood in observation, and they just wanted me to be happy. And if this coloring my world made me happy, they would just kind of be a bystander, because they were my caregivers. And it was difficult when I said, no, I'm not taking pain meds, but they see me in pain. And I struggled to eat and get nutrients in, and they just wanted me to go back to what I was doing before. So it was very difficult in that transition for them to see. But then every day it got better. Every day I was still here. And when there was 6 months past the time the doctors thought I would not be here, I was drug free, and I was off of pain meds. And so life was harder. I was in a lot of pain, but I was daily determined to wear red that day. And that was going to help me ground and give me more energy. Or wearing orange, I was going to, have more creativity. Or like, it just, every color I would wear, they would see me in a different light. And it took a while. But I believe that we, as a society, energy work is what will help advance the medical community. And I think craniosacral was super beautiful for me. Myofascia release was super helpful. I also believe that those combined with energy work, with Reiki, with color, and color chromatic energy and healing has been around for centuries and centuries, back to our ancient and our ancestors. They used the sun to beam color through gems in Egypt, and they had sound chambers. And so it's been there. We just are remembering it now. So I believe that we are the bridge that's going to help advance the medical community, that there are other ways to do it beyond pharmaceuticals. And I feel like I just get to be the miracle that's been gifted to me through the God frequency and that connection to show the world that there is another way. And who knew it could be color?
That's so beautiful. I hope you journaled everything, or at least go back and journal it and write stories about this and reach out to those doctors and say, hey, I don't know, David, or would your colleagues be open-minded enough? I mean, you're like living proof that both medicines work together, right? Yeah. It's just like, it's so hopeful for the future, and what an incredible journey. And looking at kind of like your soul's blueprint, the choices that it's made, to go up against family, to go up against the norm, to go up against, the mind is absolutely incredible how you managed to move through that, and even to come off pain meds and saying, okay, whatever this is happening is not good enough for me. Right. And I love that, because with every color it has a sound that connects to it as well, because of frequency. And I'd beg to say that we are only vibration and frequency. There's just these molecules are a little bit slowed down. So it's incredible that these work together. And I've definitely seen the alternative medicine side, how it kind of like matches and supports, in a sense of, volunteering at the cancer center in Calgary, called Wellsprings. And it's a mental attitude as well that supports and that helps. And I love that your family allowed you to do, and you know what, they could possibly be right, that you were more on that side than this side as well, which is why you were seeing all of that. And what a beautiful activation to continue to work with that. And what a testament to really kind of like feel into your body as to what foods to eat, what colors to wear, and what to do, because you're just guided. You're probably one of the people that are most connected to their bodies than I've ever known, right? In order to listen to your body and what its needs are.
I also believe that our body keeps score.
Absolutely.
So when we have a trigger, some say trigger, I say pop of color. When I receive a pop of color, I will find it and in my body. Where is it being stored? And then I'll color it. So if it's in my shoulder and it is crimson red, okay, well, that's telling in itself. Mm-hmm. What happened? Where is that energy being held in my field somewhere? And that's how I color chronic pain, is I will find the trigger. I'll find the energy where it's being stored. I'll color it, and then I'll move that energy through. And by the end of it, it's a totally, completely different color.
Absolutely. And there will usually be an emotion attached to it as well, and a memory. So digging into that and getting curious about that is kind of like, whoa. And it's like you say, the body it remembers everything, right? And I think it's also because we're 72% water as well, and water holds memory too. So it tends to support that. Oh, I love that.
Well, just to give an idea to the people that these facts that you are mentioning, and it's completely understandable that many of your family members were scared, and they also, but what is also amazing is that they were respectful of observing and not interfering with your own decision, because otherwise it would have, I don't know what would have happened. So I think that's also important in respecting each other's decision of taking their health in their hands and in their responsibility, and discussing that, well, our bodies work in these frequencies of colors and in these frequencies of vibration, all the metabolic reactions that happen, and every synthesis of energy happens through color and happens through this absorption of the frequencies that we receive from the sun. And if we don't have these frequencies put together into let's say, it's complicated to translate, but I will try my best to give an example. It's just a chain reaction. It's just like a joyride, let's say, a joyride that goes like this, and every time you go up or down, it touches, let's say, an enzyme, a health worker, let's call it like that, and every time it touches one of these receptors, it raises the frequency again, and it goes up, and then loses the energy and goes down, and all of this loss of energy and gain of energy, it's the energy that is making power to in another, let's say, like a washing machine. It is something like a washing machine that takes up this energy and creates let's say, a tornado of energy, and synthesizes ATP. So this ATP, and then water, we can synthesize water also from that kind of energy. So if we didn't have those mechanisms, we wouldn't be alive, just like that. So that's the amazing things that can happen between the spiritual side and how the energy works, you know?
I love the connection that you guys bring to this powwow, having the science and the spiritual, and having that the soul and the science kind of meet and merge. That's the bridge that's going to help us as a collective see that there is a connection in everything that we're doing on both sides.
Yeah, I agree that there's space for both medicines as well, and they can very much work together. I also believe in prevention is better than the cure as well. But we also know through working in the Akashic records that this planet is of ups and downs, like you were saying, because if we're just flatlined, if everything's just okay and everything is just balanced, besides it being extremely boring, that's when you're dead. If you look at your heart monitor and EKG, if that's not moving up and down, you're not living. So it's part of I think, the journey of life, but it's how we respond to it that becomes important. I think that's, especially when we're in those downs, it's like you were saying, like, I like that you use the analogy of like the trash can. It's like, let's see what's in the trash can. Let's deal with it. Right. And then move through that. So it's a great analogy to look into all of that. And a lot of the times we were embarrassed, but everybody has a trash can. That's the thing. We all, and the beautiful thing is when we do healing for ourselves, I believe that we're healing the 7 generations before, the generations to come. And then on top of that, we're supporting the collective consciousness or the collective of humanity, because it's amazing just how much when we smile, we can change so many people's days because of the knock-on effect. And I believe that our healing has that knock-on effect as well, because we become happier people too, which is important.
Definitely a pillar of light.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I was having my therapy session, and I was sharing with my therapist that for me it's scary to be in this vulnerability states, or to approach either my daughter or my partner and know that they can disappoint me, because I had a very, let's say, rough picture of my father having this passive energy, and I'm scared of that kind of energy. I don't like people that are passive in their own lives, and I struggle sometimes to understand how passive they can be, and I try to give them some advice, guidance, whatever it is, and letting go of the control is difficult for me. So I was finding where it came from, and through the dialogue that we had, we arrived to the figure of my father, and we said, oh, I know why I'm afraid of that, because I don't want I don't want my daughter to be in that state of passive energy, because I'm afraid that she can become like my father. So that's like probably those kind of holes and wounds that you saw in this, let's say, this connection from this realm and the connection to the other one, where you could see these blueprints that you were mentioning. So would you like to explain one of them that you discovered through this kind of ups and downs of colors?
Yeah, I guess it's just using my personal trash can and experiences that I've gone through. When I went back to ancestral healing, when I saw that within this blueprint, it held all my past lives. It wasn't just this one. It held every imprint that's ever been, and it was going back to heal for my family. My grandmother was adopted, and my father was adopted. So it was using the Akashic field to go beyond what we knew to understand. And I haven't spoken to my father since my daughter was born, and she's 24. So he wasn't, the abandonment issues that came up in my trash can when it came to my father. When I went back to do the healing for him and for me, I found out that his father had abandoned him when his mother and father had abandoned him when he was 2, that he was, sold for $485. And this was not only what I found, it was also asking questions within my lineage. My grandmother was still alive, and so I would ask her questions to find out more. And when I found out his entire story, the compassion that I had for him, that he did the best he could with what he knew, as he then was raising 3 children, and at a young age, he was in the military. I was born in Japan and out of the United States. So once I got to actually see his whole story, and that's what's the most important. Okay, I'm going to go back just a minute. The most important part of forgiveness is to take away the power and the pain of your story. And the first thing you do when you're going through forgiveness after you've activated it is when you are emptying out your trash can, is to tell your whole story from beginning to end to someone who's there, not to share their story with you. They're there to hold space for you, whether that is a therapist, whether that is someone that you feel that they know what this role is for them, for you to tell your whole story story, to get it out there. You could do it through video chat, you could do it through voice note, however it feels most comfortable for you, but to hold the space for you to tell your whole story from start to finish. And once you've got it out, you've released the power and the pain of that. Good, bad, and indifferent. This is telling all of the high, like David, all the highs of celebration and moments of memories, to all the lows. And within my personal trash can of my youth, I had sexual abuse, and I had other things that we had to, and assaults that we had to deal with. When we found, so once we've told our story out, it removed the power, and it gave me, and even therapy gave me all the things that I am. I am all of these things, and I own them. I take accountability and responsibility for them. Now it's time to go back through and color each of those. Color all the things that you are, and whatever color comes up first. And once you've colored that I am this is what happened to me, and there's a color to it, that's when you can use it as your trash can to go back and upcycle each of those traumas and insecurities, changing that color. And you change the color through gratitude, through self-love, through telling the story, and you remove the pain from it. And then you're able to find ways to upcycle it through journaling, affirmations, mirror work, meditation, music, muscle movement, that jam session. So when I found out everything about my father, I was able to upcycle that relationship and all the pain that I held towards it based on knowing what he went through. And then I was able to heal that. I was able to forgive myself for the time that I held on to the pain that he caused in my life, but then I was also able to forgive him. And I didn't need to do this in person. There are, you can boomerang it out there. Once you release that energy, it goes out and it comes back to you in beautiful ways, but it reaches whoever it needs to reach as it's making its way back to you. And it comes back to you in healing and love and abundance and so many different ways once you've forgiven yourself of that. And once we've upcycled that pain, I could see everything else in a different light. The interactions with my brothers and their blueprint, how their lives have played out because of that. The interaction with my grandmother, I was able to go back line by line, lineage by lineage, and release all of that pain that was stored. And we can do that in those that were in the war. We can do that with like my grandmother's adoption and maybe what she went through. All of that has links, but when we fully bring it in and we're the ones that are doing that for them, it just clears it out, and your whole forgiveness frequency raises up. And then everyone attached to you is feeling that whether they came before you or after you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. What part of surrendering or acceptance, was that a big part for you during your experience?
Yeah, it was surrendering to control, having control of it, knowing control of my own emotions and feelings. When I had denounced God when I was 13 after a sexual assault that had happened to me. And I was like, this wouldn't happen if there was a God. And I never spoke to him again. My family was very religious, and I grew up in a very religious home. So it was, when I walked away from it altogether, by 17 years old, I had moved out. I had emancipated myself from my family and excommunicated myself from my religion. And so when this energy started to come through and speak to me, I had a very difficult time with that, because it never said it was God. It came through in blue, it came through in green, it came through in white. But when it really came down to the healing aspect of it, it was the divine Father, Mother, God who was guiding me on this. And that is where the surrender had to come in. If I wanted to heal, if I wanted to be who I'm meant to be, that I'm seeing within the soul blueprint, I had to surrender to every day. Every day I had to give it up to how I'm going to feel, what colors we're wearing, what we're sipping in that day, how the day is going to play out. I had to surrender it. And within those surrenders, that's what brought me the children and reading a story from my pillow. That's what brought me all the different avenues and bridges of color that have come into this healing journey, and how I'm able to help the world truly came through the surrender, and to know that the miracles that are happening in my life are because of a higher source and a higher power. And for me, that I can now say that it is God. But I couldn't do that 5 years ago, for sure.
That's stunning.
Yeah.
I couldn't come through it, Scott, because you denounced him. So it's just like that's awesome. It's amazing how it all unfolds as well, right? Beautiful. Sorry,
Yes.
David, I interrupted you.
No. I was going to say that many of the things that you are mentioning about this with your grandfathers being adopted, and now you having this connection with children, that I think that that's just the proof, the living proof that you are healing that aspect of the wound, because you are embracing so many children now, that this is just like the pouring and giving of energy that you are receiving from this forgiveness. And I agree completely with you, because I also did let's say a painful exercise with my father, and ask him about his father and about his grandparent and how he was, and I understood many things, and when I understood those things, I could forgive him also, and I could understand many of the things that happened with him. And that was like a turning point in my life, and releasing this kind of energy to my daughter. So I think, and now that I'm listening to you, I think that I can surrender more into this power of letting go of control, and trusting that this energy is already healed. And as you mentioned, we every day we have this kind of action to do in terms of being in gratitude and being in forgiveness, because every day is different, and we can have these relapses with these other frequencies, no?
But every time you choose not to be passive with your daughter, every time you choose to have open conversations, you are changing the frequency and the lineage behind you. And once you've gone through and you've fully upcycled something within you, know that you may be called on again, because you've now done the work and you know how to do it. You may be called on to do that for the collective. So you may feel like you've healed something, and then something comes back and knocks you over, and be like, wait, we've already done this. We've already been here. It's actually because now you have the codes, keys, colors, and tools within your toolbox. You've upcycled that trauma into a treasure. And now the world needs that light, that needs that gem that you've created, for you to then help the collective by sharing your story, or by just holding space as someone else, the energy of it is happening again. So sometimes I find when helping people that they're like, but I've already healed this. Well, then maybe this time you're not doing it for yourself. You're actually being called into a higher service, and that you get to do it for the collective and teach others how to do it.
That's a beautiful way to put it, because we don't understand those things when we get hit again with the same thing, and we even have mirrors in our life that are reflecting to us that we still need to do more about this. And I think that this could be one of the purposes of our lives, to understand that we become teachers every time we heal something, and we can teach the next person, even though it's not in our inner circle or in our family members. We can teach them how to heal their own wounds, no?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful way that you get to be in service to another. And that's where my service comes from, is I'm still here. I didn't die, right? Once that we got past that, I still get to be here. And I get to see my daughter graduate, and I know I'll get to see her get married, and the same for my son. That's where I was just like, nothing else mattered. It was to be in service to the divine in any way, shape, or form. And so for the last 4 years, that's all I've been doing is, where am I needed in service today? How can I show up in service today? Where can this energy and colors, where do my colors need to be? Where does this rainbow need to shine? And that's what's guided me, and then abundantly everything falls into place.
That's so beautiful. What is your process? Like, how do you, like, from the time you wake up in the morning, how do you set yourself up for being of service for the day, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Yeah, so forgiveness, the way that it's just come to me, so it's not so overwhelming. Every day has a color, and every day has an aspect of forgiveness. So I'm not having to tackle it all at once. Mondays are red, so it's grounding. It has great energy to it, where it used to be kind of doom and gloom on Mondays for some people. When you infuse red into it by wearing it, meditating on it, surrounding yourself. On each of the days, I have very specific sips that, like, this is watermelon for today, which I would normally drink on Monday, but because of all of the energy of the last 12 hours and the solar flares and everything that's come through, I needed hydration. So this is what we were guided to. So every day has a color. Every day has an aspect of forgiveness. So Mondays are the days where I take anything that's happened over the weekend and I'll journal it out. Where did I fall out of center? Where was I triggered? Or where did I feel like my vibration? Where did I dip, as David had shown? Where were my highs and where were my lows? And then I'll journal that out in gratitude. And if there's anything in there that I feel like we need to dig deeper, that gets set aside until Tuesdays. Tuesdays are trash can truth days, is where we dig in our trash can. We pull out whatever came in from Monday, we bring it into Tuesday, and that's where we'll bring it into meditation. We'll go into the Akashic records. We'll ask more questions. Tell me, why did I respond this way, and why did I feel this way when this happened? And then that gives me what we're working on to upcycle. Where is it? It's the ABCIC, activate body, consciousness, and color. Where do I feel that in my body? What color is it? What does this need? What emotion is attached to it? What inner child? On a number of 1 to 11, I'll ask what number comes through. It's whatever the first pop of color, the first number, the first emotion. And then we'll work through that in the trash can truth. Wednesdays are weightless Wednesdays. So we release it all. We boomerang it with gratitude, all the lessons we learned. We dance on our pillow. It's called pillow parties. I will turn on music, lay horizontally I have this very colorful mat, and I'll just move my body and allow my body to feel whatever it is we just released, so it's no longer has the ability to be stored there. We've let it go. We've colored it. We've boomeranged it. We moved on, and then we start over. Thursdays are trash can truths again. Is there anything else from that list on Monday, or anything that came up through the week? We need to dig again. And Fridays are a day of fun and release. Saturdays and Sundays and everything's colored. So we connect to those. But my daily routine is the first thing you see usually the first thing that I changed in my life was my phone screen. Every single day it had color. It had a picture of something that brought me joy, because usually that's the first thing we see. So I changed the color on my phone screen every day. And then I would drink water, because it takes, scientifically proven, it's 11 sips of water moves through your body in 11 minutes. And we are 70 to 80% water. So I'll take my sips of water. And then before I even dig into anything else, I will walk outside and stand barefoot in the grass. And for like, before it was only 3 or 4 minutes I could stand before my spinal drain would start. Now it's about 10 to 15, 20 minutes I can be out there. But I'll stand out there until my spinal drain. So the small holes and tears, I have a CFS leak. So every day for 2 to 3, sometimes 4 hours, my entire spinal drain has to drain out. And I have to sit very still for that. So once I go outside and ground, then I'll sit in that stillness and allow my spinal drain to drain. In those 8 years of darkness, it was excruciating painful. My subconscious mind was gray and dark, and it had all these horrible thoughts. And since forgiveness, as now I sit in the spinal drain, it's the same drain. It's just my subconscious mind is in meditation. I can do affirmations. I can sit in gratitude. I can visualize and create a Garden of Eden. There's so many different things I now can do in that space, where before it was just to get through it. And that's where I get a lot of creative insights. I get to sit within the Akashic Records. It's a powwow with the Divine Father, Mother, God that lights up the rest of my day. And in those moments, I'll learn, like, how can I be of service today? Some days it's just to rest, rejuvenate, and to be present. Other days I'll get creative inspiration to something that helps the kids, or to create a video or do a pop-up color podcast, or whatever that is, it comes through during that time. And then it's called CPH, which is chronic paroxysmal hemicrania. Every up that I have has a down. So I will before it was called pass outs, I would pass out from pain. I could be up for about an hour or two, and then I would pass out and I would be gone from the world for a few hours. And then I would get another up. And so each of those ups throughout the day, which I still have, one is self-care, taking a shower, getting dressed. One is just to eat, because eating is very painful. And then so one of those pops of color in there, one of those ups through in there, is where I would spend about 2 hours or so in service to some sort, however I'm gifted. And then if I get an extra pop of color, if I get an extra up throughout the day, it's usually spent with my family and or creating something in some way. And that's really every down. The downs, this was very important on our journey. When I would pass out from pain, I would be gone from 45 minutes to a couple hours, and I would go into darkness. And I always would wake up, you have to come back, you have to come back. And so I started asking, why do I have to come back? And this is while I was in palliative care, because when you're in darkness, and I loved that place because there was no pain there, but it was dark and it was dreary, but it was nothingness. And I would stay there longer and longer and longer. Well, as you stay there, your breath slowers, and your body starts to shut down, and you have a harder time coming back. And now that I've learned that, we have recolored our subconscious mind through daily affirmations, mirror work, meditation, music. It's now full of rainbows. And now they're called energy resets. So now I know where I go, and I know I'll come back. And now I get to be in service of astro traveling or grid work, or I open myself up to surrender in that area. But that's now I know where I go, and I know I can come back and be of service while I'm in my energy resets. Before, they were very dark.
Beautiful. The strength and courage, it's so inspirational. Really, it is, Julie. Yes. What would be your advice to anybody that's going through some kind of health, or what would be your advice to people?
The biggest advice that I would give would be gratitude and self-love. I would pour into yourself, do the things that you love to do. I would surround yourself with color, because even if you don't know it, just by the color you're wearing today, you are offering yourself healing. It has a vibration and a frequency attached to it. So with or without your permission, it's helping you on so many different levels when you set the intention to it. When I started, I had a closet full of all black. Okay, adding each color with intention, created a whole new world opening up for you. So I would really, if I could do anything, drink water. Water has, you can infuse it. It holds emotion and memory. You can infuse it with love. You can infuse it with color. The water that I drink, because I have to fill back in my spinal cord, I have all these cups and I put things that I love. Like this is a breathwork box breathing and certain different colors, but you're infusing your water. I would spend time barefoot grounding as much as you can be outside. And in your last podcast, you guys talked about basking in the sun and receiving the energy of the sun. That is so vital and so important to healing. Your body can't hold inflammation in a body that's energetically grounded. So if you live in chronic pain like me, just spending a few minutes standing outside in the rising sun or in the sunset, you are going to decrease you. Breath work decreases pain. Meditation. There are so many little different things, but really it's connecting with colors in what you wear, drink, and surround yourself with will make a huge difference. And then everything else kind of comes when you surrender. And be open to pops of color. Be open to seeing color.
Beautiful. Do you help others along their journey?
I do. We created an 80N Sunny Healing Center, and it's donation-based only. And so if anyone would like to explore the Akashic Records, Akashic Reiki, all of those services, 100% of those services go to the children. And it's helping us to build a school of color and a forever home for 100 children at the Selatra Orphanage in Zambia, Africa. So those children we get to pay it forward in everything that we do.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And I also have all of this. My whole journey is free and available on YouTube under the forgiveness frequency. If you want to activate your forgiveness frequency, if you want to learn about expansion of color, all of those videos. I think there's 333 the last time I checked, videos over the last 5 years that are available to everyone to explore.
Oh, wow.
Add those in.
Yes, we will add every caption for these services that you are mentioning, and I think we will have a part 2 because we have so much to talk about still about the different colors, and maybe in the next episode that's why we are going to invite people to follow us so that they can be aware when it's going to be the second part. We can speak about each of the colors and what it represents for people. And you did an exercise. Maybe in that part we can do this same exercise about your birthday and the color that we have, no, according to our birthday.
Do we have time to ignite Natasha's birthday color? Okay. So I use the color astrology. So it takes color, numerology, and astrology, and it combines it into the color that is kind of you're written in the stars for your birthday. And so all I need is the first day, the month, and the date, not the year.
Okay. So it's the 8th of December. So 12/8. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. You will have your color. Mine is
what's great about these ones is that once you have your color, you can't unsee it. And this is a great way to activate your forgiveness frequency. And yeah, David, how was your experience
great.
when we guided yours?
Yeah, it was great. And I was watching Julie in that color before she gave the color to me. So that was funny.
So Natasha, yours is Orient Blue.
Nice. And I'm wearing
Look what
blue.
you're wearing. Yes, look what you're
Thank
wearing.
you.
Intuitive, deep, profound are the adjectives for you. Your depth of perception is one of your many gifts. Your superficial superficial conversations will not hold your attention. You long for truth in your emotions with others and your encounters with others. Your honesty is not always welcomed, but it is always a vehicle for transformation. You function well when you are communicating your perceptive insights to a large audience. In writing, speaking, and playing music are some of the many talents you may possess. How this color benefits you: wearing, meditating on, or surrounding yourself with orient blue reminds you that life is about renewal and that every day precedes a new beginning. Or no, every ending precedes a beginning.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, that's so me. Absolutely.
And so a lot of the times when our colors are ignited, and these are free for anyone and everyone who wants to know their birth color. It's kind of my mission in this world is to light as many birth flames as possible. But once you do it, you may realize that it's around you, like you're wearing close to that color today.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That is so insightful. What a beautiful gift. Thank you, Julie.
And I would love to come back. I know, David, we talked about frequency, like the frequency of what you're wearing. So as energy becomes our currency, the colors hold a vibration and frequency, and each of those colors, but also fabrics do too. And so when we were talking about the science of what is our outfit today? What are we putting off in color frequency and in fabric frequency? And then how do we kind of find the perfect combination of that also heals you for the 8 hours or 12 hours that you have that outfit on?
Yeah. Yes, I think that can be added also to this part too. So we have plenty to talk in our next episode, and I really thank you, Julie, because this has been an enlightening journey for anyone that is struggling with any kind of pain, ailment, or circumstance in their own lives, and they can find this energy of gratitude and forgiveness. As you mentioned, those two energies, I think those are the ones that we can, let's say, elevate for other people today, and we can give it to so that they can practice and so that they can journal, just as you described your, let's say, your lifestyle. That's also a very powerful technique for anyone to start digging in their own journeys, in their own triggers, in their own wounds, and they have all the time while they are, of course, alive, as you mentioned as well. So thank you everyone for listening, and connect with us, connect with Julie. And if you want to support her, we are going to leave the links so that you can connect and support and enjoy her services as well. Thank you very much for being here. And if you like this episode, if you want to help any of us in this cause, and of course, Julie, share the episode with everyone, and we will be very grateful with you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Beautiful.